All right, this is a quick sound check on Facebook Live. So if you can hear us on Facebook Live, if you can type L and C in the chat area for loud and clear. If you can hear us on Facebook Live, can you type L and C in the chat area?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Enlisted Professional Military Education Scheduling Facebook Live webcast. I am Tech Sergeant Michael Olson.
And I am Staff Sergeant Dwayne Rivers.
We are from the Air Force's Personnel Center, Directorate of Personnel Operations. We work in the EPME Scheduling Office, which consists of one manager, an NCOIC, and one scheduler. Our office manages the Chief Leadership Course, Senior Non-Commissioned Officer Academy, and the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy. Additionally, we manage MyPERS field inquiries for EPME and update any remaining Course 14 and 15 completions in the personnel data system. We will serve as your briefers today. We ask that you hold all your questions until the end of this briefing. Today, we will discuss the following topics: EPME policy and guidance, program updates, eligibility, ineligibility, scheduling, deferments, some common misconceptions, and valuable resources. Afterwards, we will open this forum up for any questions you may have. Today's webcast will begin by discussing policy and guidance. On 23 July 2018, AFI 36-2656, Developmental Education, was published. This replaced AFI 36-2301. Chapter 4 establishes EPME requirements and centralized scheduling. Airman Leadership School is managed locally at the base level. Our office does not schedule or manage ALS. However, we do manage scheduling for 10 non-commissioned officer academies, Senior Non-Commissioned Officer Academy, and the Chief Leadership Course. Sister Service EPME is scheduled through a MADCOM nominative process. Next, Staff Sergeant Rivers will discuss the most recent EPME 21 updates.
On 26 April 18, the Air Force removed the requirement to complete EPME distance learning for active duty airmen. Additionally, both EPME distance learning courses 15 and 14 are no longer a prerequisite for academy and resident attendance. Airmen who were enrolled in an EPME DLC on or before 26 April 18 may elect to complete the course for CCAF credit. However, AU does not allow new enrollments for active duty airmen. Airmen may access EPME DLC for reference only on the Air University Student Information System. Additionally, we have airmen who were given in-resident EPME credit under the grandfather airman portion of EPME 21. Airmen who had 12 years time in service or more and completed course 15 as of 30 June 17 were given in-resident credit for NCOA if they had not already attended. Airmen who had 18 years time in service or more and completed course 14 as of 30 June 17 were given in-resident credit for senior NCOA if they had not already attended. These personnel will have records that reflect resident and non-resident completion with a 30 June 17 completion date. This cannot be changed unless it's an error. 30 June 17, course 15 and 14 completion was removed and as a promotion eligibility requirement. Beginning with the 2018 promotion cycle, only resident EPME is required for promotion to take effect. Now that we know who is required to attend, Tech Sergeant Olson will review the eligibility chart for attendance.
This is the EPME eligibility chart for all of our Air Force EPME in-resident courses. Please note that staff sergeants without line numbers are no longer allowed to attend NCOA, and Master Sergeant Selects are prioritized over all others for NCOA attendance. Remember, time in service is no longer a factor when prioritizing airmen. Instead, time and grade is the primary factor considered when prioritizing. We have discussed eligibility requirements. However, there are many ineligibility factors that Staff Sergeant Rivers will review next.
Here you can see the factors that renders an airman ineligible candidate unable to attend an EPME academy. Some may notice that AAC 81 and ALCA, which are related to pregnancy, are no longer ineligibility factors. If a member is not able to attend due to pregnancy restrictions, then they may elect to be removed. However, we will not refrain from initially scheduling them, which brings us to the scheduling process.
We schedule a considerable amount of students for EPME attendance each year. Typically, we schedule 90 days out from the class start date. We post the eligibility roster on the SharePoint monthly for the formal training offices to use as a replacement list. Once an airman is selected for attendance, they are required to attend unless they obtained a deferment for one of the reasons listed. They may defer for mission-related reasons, medical conditions, humanitarian conditions, or ineligibility factors. Any airman that is deferred will require a replacement. Staff Sergeant Rivers will now discuss deferment requests.
Any deferment requires strong justification. Deferment reasons that cannot be verified in the MIL PDS system, for example, mission-related reasons, will need wing command, chief concurrence, and wing commander or equivalent approval. You can find detailed guidance on the deferment process in the Chief Leadership Course, Senior NCOA, and NCOA Scheduling and Deferment Procedures, PSDG. All deferments, regardless of reason, are submitted through the formal training office to AFPC EPME. Replacements must be provided with all deferments. Swaps are allowed as long as one member is being deferred. Again, please refer to our PSDG for more detailed guidance. Tech Sergeant Olson will now go over some of the most misconceptions with the EPME program.
Senior Enlisted Joint Professional Military Education 1 and 2 are updated by the local formal training office, not by AFPC. Any airman who was identified as eligible for grandfather credit had their records updated on 3 August 2017. No further updates are required. Any airman that is not grandfathered must attend NCOA and Senior NCOA, regardless of any promotion waivers. Tech sergeants with the waiver to sew on master prior to NCOA must attend as soon as they are available. Once an airman is given a seat and assigned a training line number, that TLN remains active unless our office cancels it in the system. Airmen who do not report on the first day of training for class and have an active TLN are marked as a no-show. Once a no-show is confirmed, it may not be removed. Our next slide will cover some helpful resources.
As stated before, the new AFI 362656 and the PSDG are valuable resources. The Chief's Leadership Course, the Senior Non-Commissioned Officer Academy, and the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy Scheduling and Deferment Procedures PSD Guide in MyPERS details the scheduling procedures the Air Force uses for the active duty PME to exclude ALS. Additionally, MyPERS message 29344, Enlisted Professional Military Education, is a good one to reference to stay informed of program changes. It gets updated every time a new policy is issued. Oftentimes, when we publish policy changes, we will include a list of frequently asked questions with answers, such as the case for the EPME Senior NCO and NCO Distance Learning course changes. Finally, our headquarters AFPC Workforce Development SharePoint page is extremely helpful for individuals who have responsibility for managing the EPME for their wing. These resources should help to answer the majority of questions about the EPME program. However, we do understand the program changed many times and there may still be some confusion. So our manager of EPME scheduling is here to help answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Tech Sergeant Olson and Staff Sergeant Rivers, for the information you provided. That concludes today's webcast. Thank you for logging in. I wanted to share our contact information for those that may have additional questions after this webcast. We ask that formal training offices send all actions and inquiries to our organizational email account listed here. Before we move on to our question and answer session, I would like to summarize what we have discussed today. We reviewed the EPME policy and guidance, some of the EPME 21 program updates, our eligibility and ineligibility factors, the scheduling process, the deferment process. We went over some common misconceptions, and then finally, we listed some valuable resources. Thank you so much for your participation, and we do welcome your feedback. We will now open up the webcast for a 15-minute question and answer session on the items that we specifically discussed in this webcast.
All right, thank you so much. Please note the 4-sentence limit when typing your questions in the chat area. And we'll take questions in the chat area on the DCS, and then we'll also take questions on Facebook. So please type your questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. We'll start off with some of the questions I'm getting on our DCS. Will you be able to update standby rosters to also reflect rosters? Oh, to also reflect units. So far, we're only allowed to put the base and the match count that you're on. It's for privacy reasons because it is public out there and anyone can access this information. We don't want to put too much individual information out there for people. So until that changes, that's our answer. We're not going to be able to provide units. Okay, so let's see. With this, of course, direction of revitalizing the squadrons, are there any further initiatives in the works? Oh, okay. Thank you, Sergeant Henry, for asking that question. Actually, we constantly speak about revitalizing the squadrons up here at AFPC in general, and then specifically in the EPME office. We're constantly working along with our policy section and the career field functional managers to find better ways to give you guys more say and power and ability to control some of your professional development, right? But a lot of times it takes a lot of discussion, a lot of planning. So this is something we don't just make a change or two and then forget about it. We are continuously looking at our processes and looking at ways to help you guys. So yes, I would anticipate some changes coming down the line, although I'm not sure what those changes might be or look like. Let's see what else we got. So the June 2018 webinar was not posted on the workforce development site. Well, thank you for pointing that out. I'll make sure that we post that ASAP. Yes, you should be seeing our webinars, and our DCS is posted on our SharePoint page so that you guys can access them later. So thank you for letting us know. I'll make sure that gets posted. AFI 362301 is no longer applicable. No, it was replaced with our new AFI 362656, the Developmental Education AFI, and that took effect the 23rd of July 2018. Let's see, can you at least provide the 8-digit passcode? Again, we can't provide the 8-digit passcode. We can only provide the base and the match com. Are there plans to change the verbiage in the PSDG to better clarify FTO's role in the replacement process to alleviate any confusion? So, Teresa Whitmire, if you could clarify what some of that confusion is, and and then maybe we can discuss it now, but right now up here at the AFPC level, all we ask is that if a wing, and we're talking about the wing, if a wing has a deferment, that it provides a replacement. Who at the wing, we haven't dictated that yet, but they're supposed to be working through the formal training offices. Our requests come through the formal training offices, but we don't tell anyone at the base level who is responsible for picking that replacement. We just want the replacement picked and sent to us, if that makes sense at this time. But if you could kind of clarify for me what the confusion might be, then maybe we can talk about that further. Let's see. Brewer asked, so if we have a deferment for 19-2, which is one of our classes, and want to swap that person with a member in 19-1, which would be an earlier class, we do not have to provide a replacement for the 19-1 person that fills the slot with a, okay. So when we talk about a swap, let's use your example. If you have someone in 19-1 and you also have someone in 19-2, but the person in 19-2 has a deferment because for whatever reason, they're ineligible at this time, or they're going TDY during that portion, during that class, but they can go to the earlier class, then you can replace each member with the other. So for example, you could take the person out of 19-2 and put them in 19-1 and take the person you have in 19-1 and put them in 19-2. But that is the only way you're going to be able to make that work. So in short, there would be no need for a replacement because they're serving as each other's replacements. The most important thing to note here is that only one of them needs a valid deferment, but they do have to replace each other. And I hope that that clarifies. So at this time, I want to jump over to Facebook and see if there's any Facebook Live questions. Are there? No. Okay. So we'll continue on with DCS. Let's see. So Master Sergeant Donko, to be clear, tech sergeants are prioritized by time and grade and not time and service when scheduling them for NCOA. Is that correct? So we try to use a kind of a common sense approach. Since the academies are required for promotion, we tend to prioritize those who would be closer to promoting to senior before anyone else. So we do it by time in grade. Not time in service. Time in service is not a factor for prioritization. I hope that that clarifies it. It is time and grade. And again, if someone has sold on Master Sergeant before having attended the academy because they got a waiver to sew on before EPME attendance, we will prioritize them first as well. And they will also be by time and grade. Let's see. There are some who believe it is the formal training officer's responsibility to select a replacement. Let me be clear. It is the wing that has to provide the replacement. And I'm not saying who in the wing needs to provide it, but the wing, it needs to come from the wing. That's all I have planned out right now. If anything changes or we get more specific than that, then of course we will update the PSD guide and let you guys know. I may have missed the link to the SharePoint site you mentioned. Can you provide the link on here? Yes, we will provide the link, and then also the slides should be available for download within a day or two. So the link should be out there, and the link will be on the slides for you guys to access.
And we're also taking questions on Facebook. Master Sergeant Bond said the first person to ask a question on Facebook gets a free trip to Cancun. So if you want to ask a question on Facebook, go ahead at this time. Continue to type your questions in the chat area. Thank you.
Okay, so Aaron Wade from sunny Dallas, or what, Dias, here at Abilene, huh? Just to clarify, if we swap two members with each other, do we still need to submit a deferral or a deferment? Well, yes, you do. At least for one person. One person needs to defer. So in other words, you can't just swap dates because someone likes the weather in September better than the weather in May. No, we're not going to be able to do that. Someone needs to have a valid deferment for us to be able to swap. Okay, so I understand that unit description may be considered PII. Is it possible to provide the 8-digit passcode in the roster? So the 8-digit passcode would provide way too much information. Anyone who could Google will probably figure out where that base and that unit is from. So again, we're not able to do that at this time, but we will continue to find a way to give you guys more information to make it more user-friendly for the bases. So the force gaining members into the NCO Academy's responsibility. We're actually working on a memorandum of agreement to iron out that process. So when that gets done, signed, and approved, we will publish it, and everybody will be able to be on the same page as to who does the force gaining. But at this time, we're looking at that process. Does the Barnes Center do that when NCO Academy provides the name of the person being, okay. And we do also have a standing agreement already, which does say that the schoolhouses will force gain members at this time. But again, we are looking at that process and we're going to update and publish new guidance. So stand by on a more detailed answer to the force gaining question. Okay, Sergeant Henry, for GSUs and with match comms and wings that defer from the host MPS, who is responsible for providing the replacement? That's an excellent question. So the way I determine who is responsible for providing the replacement, I basically use the training line number. So the training line number tells me what wing and base that person was assigned to. So if the training line number comes out to be for a GSU on that host installation, then wherever that training line number is originating from is the one that needs to provide the replacement. I hope that kind of helps with when you guys are determining who needs to provide what. But I always go off the training line number. If formal training managers are responsible, quote unquote, for filling all the seats for NCOA, is there potential for allowing swaps without a deferment? At this time, no, there is no potential for that. We just got it approved for us to be able to defer with, or to be able to swap with just one deferment. So hang in there with us. We will continue to try to help you guys out one step at a time. How are reservists prioritized? Okay, so I can't answer anything for the reserves or the guard because we only schedule active duty up here at AFPC. You would have to defer to the reserve and the guard schedulers for that question. And I do apologize for that. I just don't know how they do their process. See, with all senior master sergeants who didn't previously complete senior NCOA be able to attend now. So if there are senior master sergeants who have not attended senior NCOA and were not grandfathered, as in given credit for senior NCOA, then they would have to attend. I didn't notice any on the rosters, so I don't think we had anyone that applies to at this time. But another thing I want to note is that if there's anyone out there in the field who has been given grandfather credit and still does want to attend, they can serve as a replacement as long as the class start date is within 30 days. So they basically can act as a short notice replacement. But that's the only case in which someone who had grandfather credit could attend the academy. In the past, the Barnes Center was responsible for loading the force gain member. I have had members in class that were scheduled by AFPC that I had to find a replacement for. Okay. Is there any way to publicize that information regarding the GSU's replacement? Okay, well, maybe we might be able to add a little bit more clarification to the PSD guide. I'll try to find a way, Sergeant Henry, that we can go ahead and make it a little clearer who is responsible for providing the replacement in regards to whoever the TLN belongs to has to provide the replacement. Okay, so what I said about the TLN is currently at this time, when I am looking for a replacement for a course, or when I'm trying to find or verify a replacement that's been given to me, the replacement has to stem from the same place the TLN is assigned to. So if a training line number is assigned to my base and my MAJCOM, then my base and MAJCOM needs to provide that replacement. Some of your units have training line numbers assigned to them that come from, they're a GSU and it's a different base or a different entity that handles them. Wherever that training line number is assigned to, that's who needs to provide a replacement. But we will discuss and put out further guidance and be more specific. How you're filtering the projected deployments when you, okay, so great, Brewer. We are now filtering for projected deployments. In fact, we just did the scheduling for earlier in September for the January class start dates, and we filtered for projected deployments. Sergeant Olson and I sat down and we racked our brains to figure out how to do that, but we were able to do it for you. Again, the process isn't perfect. We just started doing that again, so we're working on it. But yes, to answer your question, we are filtering for the projected deployments. And so those deferments that you're getting for the people who have, or the deferments that you're getting for the people who have a projected deployment, they should filter out now. Again, this started just this month. So anybody scheduled in January should not have had a deployment projected in the system when we scheduled, which is right now. But people who are scheduled for November and December might still have projected deployments in there. I don't know if that makes sense, but since we scheduled so far out, that's the reason why you may still have some of those issues, but they will wean off after January. And just a reminder, our PSC guide was updated on the 28th of August. So if you guys haven't gone out there and pulled or looked at it since before 28 August, you might want to go out there and look and see, because there might be a couple updates in there that you may not have noticed. Okay, so we currently schedule SOS and ALS at the MatchCom. Any thought of publishing any of the other PMEs down? Ooh, Sergeant Henry, there's a long history about where scheduling is kept for EPME in general. We have discussed it in the past. Since I've been in the office, it has been discussed, and there has been no definitive discussion about that, or in no progress. But if anything does change, or we try to make any moves in that direction, we will be sure to let you guys know. And the wing is not responsible for the PME quotas. The base is responsible, all with the same passcode. Okay, so AFPC EPME is responsible for scheduling all the class seats for EPME, for NCOA, senior NCOA, and CLC. Once we assign a class seat to a member, then that base, whoever that member belongs to, if that member can't go for whatever reason, now they are responsible for providing a replacement. That's how that goes. Was the latest PCG announced on my purse? Well, we post our PSCGs on my purse. That's the only place really that we post it. As a matter of fact, if you go on to our SharePoint to look at the PSCG, all you're going to find is instructions to go to my purse to pull it. But anytime that we do publish a new PSD guide or an update to the one that we have, we do send it out to all the functional managers, all the MatchCom EPME functional managers, and then there should be disseminating it down further from there. Okay, and so we also have policy section up here with us right now. And just to clarify, we are not allowed to say what the formal training officer's responsibilities are. So it's my purse official guidance. Yes, my purse is official guidance. Also, can my purse articles start being dated so we know when they are updated? Nah, I did notice that they're not dated also. I can ask around here, up here, APC, that's beyond my purview and beyond our scope right here, because my purse is like a way bigger entity than what we handle in our office. But I can go ahead and pass that along so we can ask that question. Let's see. Regarding replacement. Okay, and other MH. We can use any of our tenant units as replacements, correct? I'm sorry. Anyone, if you have an MHTLN, anyone with an MH passcode can be used as a replacement. My purse articles are not dated. Nope, they are not. and do not have an owner, it would be great to have that information. Okay, I will pass that along about the MyPers articles. Oh yes, I do agree that the PSD verbiage is extremely important, but we kind of have to stay within our realm. We are EPME and also we're unit training managers up here, and formal training offices tend to be personnelists. It's a whole other career field that we need to consider, and it's just outside of our scope and outside of our realm. So again, we understand, we feel that, but we can't dictate what a formal training office's responsibilities are, because we don't own them. I hope that makes sense. I understand it's frustrating. I used to be personnel too, so I understand the struggle, but it just is what it is at this time. Sorry.
Okay, we're going to do last call for questions. So if you have any questions, please type them in the chat area. Last call. Any questions on Facebook? Oh, we do have a question on Facebook. Oh, she did? Okay, very good. Never mind. Sarmbond will mail you your gift certificate. Your free vacation. Thank you so much.
Oh, can you elaborate on why you cannot address responsibilities in the PSD guide?
We just said.
You might have asked that before I already answered, but the reason why I can address responsibilities in the PSD guide just under things that I have control over and that are within my scope of responsibility. A formal training officer's responsibility and tasks and things that they're responsible, I'm not able to speak on that. I can't. It's not something that I have overview of, I should say. Yes, Brewer, I will post the slides on the Workforce Development SharePoint. I have not forgotten, I wrote it down, so be on the lookout for that. Let's see, are there any further questions? You guys have a couple questions on Facebook. I heard you.
There was just one, and you about the replacement, and you answered that like 4 times. So.
Oh, okay. Is it the question about replacements?
Yes.
Yes.
It's about who provides replacement.
Who provides replacements?
Mhm.
Yeah.
The wing or wing leadership.
The wing or wing leadership? All I can say is the wing. Whatever you get from that,
And you answered it 4 times.
you get from
Excellent
that.
job.
So,
Excellent job. You are amazing.
if anything changes or we have any more specifics, we'll be sure to send it out to the field. Thank you guys for participating. Thank you so much for being on here. I hope that I was able to answer all your questions thoroughly. And if you have any further questions, you have our contact information. We'll be sure to post the slides. Thank you and have a great Air Force Day.
Thank you so much. We're going to disconnect now. You can all hang up the phone lines, and thank you for joining us.